And as Mark was talking, we were speculating, and then Will said, well, why don't you just talk to the person who's on the House Intel Committee? Right. So why don't we do that? Let's bring in New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, chair of the House Republican Conference and member of both the House Intel Committee and the House Armed Services Committee. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Great. So what do you make of this? Because we step back and go, how did this happen? Now we learn there's another officer who's out, but is affiliated with Russians sharing the information. What's happening here?
So those are very important questions, Pete, and that's why this week at Speaker McCarthy's leadership, we're having a bipartisan briefing for all members of Congress. I sit on the House Intelligence Committee, and any type of leak, especially of this gravity, we need to investigate it and make sure it never happens again. I have a lot of questions. Why was there such extensive access to so much extensive material for such a young National Guardsman? That, creates lots of questions that we have to answer, and we will make sure that in our oversight role in Congress that we strengthen our protection of national security and classified documents.
All right, Jim Jordan was on the curvy couch sitting right where you were earlier this morning because he's in the city because House Judiciary is talking about all the violent crime here in New York and they want to do something about it. It's called the Victims of Violent Crime in Manhattan. They're going to have a field hearing on this topic today. I know you are going to be there. You're not on Judiciary, but you're here because you represent New York and we have a problem here.
Absolutely. New York is the epicenter of this catastrophic crime crisis we're seeing across the country. And New Yorkers know this is a direct result of failed far-left Democrat policies, whether it's failed bail reform put into place by Albany legislators and Governor Cuomo and Governor Hochul, or whether it's radical DAs who are refusing to prosecute violent crime. Democrats, their response has been interesting and it's been very telling. They want to silence these victims of crime. We want to give them a voice. They deserve a voice to make sure that the American people and every New Yorker knows that there are consequences that are devastating to these failed policies.
Yeah, I think that we have these stats where those watching at home can see this, but the New York City crime stats over the last 2 years. Now, murder is down. When Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York City, he adopted a crime philosophy of the broken windows theory. So prosecute small crimes. They don't metastasize into big crimes. You're looking at the opposite now. So small crimes get by, shoplifting, larceny. How long until murder tracks? How long until big crimes go up? You let the small crimes go, you're going to get the big crimes at some point. And then let's put up the one that shows the felony cases downgraded under Alvin Bragg. You can see, look, it went from 39% up to 52%. So we're taking big crimes and we're turning them into small crimes. And we're going to get more big crimes.
And that's what we've seen. If you look at the stats going back to 2019, murders are up, violent crimes are up, and you cannot open the newspaper every single day in New York and not see more coverage of heinous crimes. This impacts real people and real families. It's part of the reasons why people no longer feel safe and secure in cities like New York. And this field hearing, this is what Republicans are committed to, getting across America, getting outside of the Beltway, hearing from real Americans. It's not just the House Judiciary Committee, it's our House Agriculture Committee, our Ways and Means Committee, our Budget Committee that are traveling around the country to hear firsthand about where these crises are happening. It's why Homeland Security Committee had a hearing at the southern border to hear firsthand from those Border Patrol officers. So Democrats are smearing us, but the reality is we know we work for the American people and we want to hear their feedback.
Well, speaking of Democrats smearing you, here's what Senator Chuck Schumer had to say about all of this.
The House GOP must be clear and vociferous that defunding the FBI, defunding the Department of Justice will not happen. Instead of calls to defund the federal agencies that do so much to protect New York, the House GOP and Senate must recognize and appreciate the dedication and devotion demonstrated every day by men and women in federal law enforcement agencies who keep the communities of the United States safe.
The Democrat Party, who embraced defund the police, are now trying to turn it on you.
That's exactly right, Pete. Chuck Schumer should have spoken out against the defund the police movement, including in New York City, where the city council advocated for defunding the police, where leading Democrats nationally are the leaders of the defund the police movement. Republicans proudly support our law enforcement. We proudly support the police. And when it comes to the FBI and DOJ, there's politicization in those agencies that we have to go after. They should not be political arms of the Democrat Party. They should focus on law enforcement and rule of law in this country.
Tucker Carlson sat down with Elon Musk, and he's going to come on our show a little bit later to talk about this. They talked about the concerns of AI, and then they also talked about the government being able to have access to our Twitter accounts. Listen to this.
The degree to which various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind. I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes.
Wow, what's your reaction to that?
Well, that should concern every American. Thank goodness Elon Musk has shined a spotlight on this overreach in terms of the government role of Twitter and using Twitter as essentially an arm of the U.S. government, whether it's the FBI paying Twitter over $3 million to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, or whether it's federal agencies having access to DMs. I'm looking forward to getting more information, not only from the interview, but in our oversight role as Congress. We need to hold big tech accountable. We need answers to these questions. Because the American people, this is going to be a surprise to the American people, and it's very, very concerning. But I'm so glad that Elon Musk is shining a spotlight on this.
And I hope that when you guys do explore, and I anticipate that you will, this is not just a conversation about Twitter. This is a conversation about Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I can't imagine that Twitter was somehow unique in their approach to looking into our DMs.
It's about big tech broadly. You're right, Will. And this is why in our oversight role, we need to hold big tech accountable. I have constituents who are very concerned about Facebook's overreach, the impact it has on our kids. I have constituents who are concerned about the impact Instagram has on our young women, if you look at some of the statistics with mental health challenges. So we need to make sure we provide policy answers and policy solutions to these very concerning big tech questions.
Absolutely. We're going to get more of that interview with Elon Musk on Tucker Carlson tonight, and more of Tucker Carlson on this show, because he's coming up